Hey everyone, welcome back to your week ahead astrology breakdown. I'm Matthew Oliver from Stillwater Alchemy, and this week marks the 1 year anniversary of doing these week ahead forecasts on YouTube. So I want to extend gratitude for all of you watching, whether you are new to the channel or you have been here since the very beginning, back when we were Stillwater Tarot. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's such a pleasure to disseminate this information. If you know me, I could literally talk about the astrology all day. Sometimes I record like a lunar workshop or one of these videos. I was like, oh, that was a big one. But sometimes you don't mind if they're big, especially if they are meaty, have lots of information to enjoy. So here we are 1 year later. Thank you so much. So here's to many more and us getting to grow together. So we're just coming off of that Pisces full moon that we had over the weekend. And of course, last week leading up to that full moon, I just found it was very intense. I feel like a lot of individuals in my life, whether they were clients, friends, or family, it's like this intense energy building up. But again, diamonds are built under pressure, and we know that there's that period of contraction before the expansion, and we know these things, right? Sometimes it's remembering the basics, and when we're in those moments of contraction, it can feel a lot, it can feel heavy, but you know how to navigate that. You have the tools, you're smarter, sharper, you have the intelligence. And so if you felt like you were going through that, maybe you're going through that now or just in the future, those phases, those periods, those seasons don't last forever. And I find that lunations, new moons, full moons, eclipses, whatever they may be, are good pit stops along the way to just check in, see how we're doing, and if we're on the right track. And we know internally how we're feeling, if we're being dutiful, if we're being mindful, and if we're just listening to our intuition. And really with water signs, especially with a Pisces full moon conjunct Neptune, there would have been a lot of that coming to the surface. And really, if we're pursuing our dreams or not, I personally have found, and I've been seeing this more and more, that people in my inner circle are literally living their dreams, that it's coming true so quickly. And so I just wanted to share that, of just taking note of your relationships. And sometimes it can be maybe feeling envious or frustrated when there's people in your immediate circle getting what you want. But we know energetically that if those around you are receiving their dreams, then that means it's that much closer to you, because you're all in that energetic vibration, in that same frequency. So with regards to our dreams, making sure we have the right tools, the right discipline, having faith in ourselves, we now get to expand upon that this week. All right. And this is one of those weeks where we're just tracking the moon again, because Mercury is now retrograde. Mars is going to be in Gemini until March of 2023. And we're still wrapping up the tail end of Virgo season with Venus along for the ride. So let's take a look and see what is shaking. So we start off Monday, September 12th, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So here we have the moon, and it's in this conjunction with Chiron. And I'm bringing this up because it's going to come up later in our Astro Question of the week. I want you to ask yourself if you are delaying action. Maybe there was a very profound download or something you know you have to do or end or go back to or readjust. Are you delaying? Or have you been forced to rethink something that maybe isn't something that you want to do, but you know you have to do it? So there might be an element of procrastination, right? Because Chiron is an asteroid known as a wounded healer. So sometimes it can be a blind spot. Sometimes it can be, especially in the sign of Aries, a lack of passion, a lack of action, a fear of what if I do this and it doesn't work. And this Chiron in Aries is happening across the board for everyone. But now that the moon is interacting with it right after the Pisces full moon, this is just something to be mindful of. There's also kind of, when I was getting ready for this video's liberation from delusion, liberation from the past, liberation from past conditioning. with Aries, it is the start of the zodiac. It is a very pioneering, innovative sign. And so there might be an energy of you don't need to wait for permission. You don't need to wait on other people. You do not need to lean on an old pattern or an old identity. You're now being asked to push through or reinvent yourself to now recalibrate even more closely to your dreams or a new dream that has surfaced since that full moon. So I really want you to be mindful of that and see what's coming through. And if you can push past the fear, because we do have the moon making a square to Pluto. And last week, it was on Tuesday that the moon was conjunct Pluto. I saw a lot of people having meltdowns and breakdowns and miscommunication. Yes, Mercury's in the pre-retrogrades, but I do think if we're talking about our emotions, that would have been the moon Pluto. So now that we have the moon square Pluto, again, we now know what to expect. And it can feel scary when we're leaving something comfortable, when we're pursuing something that we don't know if it's going to work, or maybe we're doing it on our own. That is very Aries energy, extremely independent. But the moon is making that nice sextile to Saturn. Saturn is currently retrograde. So there may be work or discipline or structures that you've implemented in the past. And this is one last thing I want to share. If there has been a time in your life where you've pursued something that you really wanted, but maybe didn't know was going to work out, remember where that's happened in the past, no matter what the age was, or if you've done a past life regression or have knowledge of past lives, maybe tapping into that. But in this current timeline, has there been a time in your life where you have listened to your soul, have went out on your own, have trusted in yourself and your dreams? And what structure, what discipline aided you in that? And that can help you overcome the fear or the pressure or lack of perceived power that you have in this situation. Because for me, this is just a buildup of what we experienced during the full moon and how you want to best utilize this energy. And also even because, again, with us still being in this full moon phase, there might still be answers or clarity that's coming in for you to then make the right decision. Especially given that if we look back on Sunday, the moon was conjunct Jupiter and making that opposition to Mercury retrograde. So there may have just been something that you were waiting on, or not hearing about something or correspondence has now propelled you to take a different action. So just some things to note. Now, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, these are phenomenal days, and I really want you to take advantage of them. Here's why. The moon is exalted when she is in Taurus. So this is a really benevolent energy for us to utilize. Second of all, Venus is currently in Virgo, a fellow earth sign, and the sun is in Virgo. So the moon is going to be making really nice aspects to both Venus and the sun. I will say, if there is something that you want to discuss, reevaluate, if there's an intimate relationship that you feel is off, or that you want to even not, if you want to avoid intense confrontation or a combative energy, address the relationships Tuesday, Wednesday. These are great days with the moon making a trine to Venus. I feel like it'd be very constructive. Or let's say you want to pitch yourself to a boss, or you have to, let's say, renegotiate something, or you need to ask for help. Tuesday, Wednesday, phenomenal days. Do not be afraid to reach out. I feel like people that have the skill set, the intellect, the resources, they're going to want to help you out, especially if there's an offer of like, I'll take you out for lunch. I'll bring over pizza. Let's go out for drinks after. That kind of nice balance between the work and the rest, or reward or an incentive with Virgo and Taurus. And Virgo likes to be appreciated for the work that it's doing. And so if you're going to ask for a favor, not that it would expect a reward, but the acknowledgement of how grateful you are. And that's even a nice note to Tuesday, Wednesday, of expressing gratitude for anything and everything, your health, your beauty, for the work, for whatever. And that's also an energy too that I was kind of feeling. I'm talking about the work, whether it be the internal work, your career, work that you're doing to pursue your dream, having gratitude for that, in a sense that Maybe you're at a point in your career where you're making more money than you've ever made. Maybe you're in a position of power where you can snap your fingers and things can get done, or you have the resources or the people or the subordinates to assist you, or you have an amazing boss or a phenomenal landlord. This is a time to really give gratitude to those things and see how that unfolds for the rest of this week. And just a nice reminder to really lean into that and just see how that emulates internally and externally. As I said, if you need a favor, if you need to reach out, Tuesday, Wednesday, great days to do so. One thing to note on Wednesday is that we have the moon conjunct the north node, conjunct Uranus retrograde. So we always are interacting with the north node in Uranus, right? Whenever the moon is in Taurus. So this would be a fun energy to just be mindful of. Remember that we had that triple conjunction as well with the moon, the north node, and Uranus, but Mars was in Taurus. This was the beginning of August, if you all recall. It was like August 1st, August 2nd. So what has changed in that part of your chart, or it may be a revisiting of that. So this is a nice opportunity for those of you who want to deep dive into your chart, understand the transits, especially regarding the moon. What's going on in the Taurus part of your chart, and is this being activated? Especially the moon conjunct the north node, there's this element of a theme that you've been working on or that you want to pursue in that part of your chart. So especially with the moon making that trine to Venus, is a very sweet, harmonious, loving, productive day. So please use it wisely. The one thing I'll say is Wednesday leading into Thursday, the moon will be making that square to Saturn. So there might be something that you really want to sink your teeth into, or something that you're like, I know what I need to do, but it's going to take some focus. It's going to take a lot of productivity. It's going to take time for me to do this, which is fine because we also have the moon getting some nice support from the sun. So this is the kind of situation where Saturn's influence might not represent a delay or not frustration, but an overwhelm of mastery that sometimes Saturn can exert, where it feels like there's so much I need to do. There's so much pressure on me. I'd rather just not do it at all. This is not that, in my opinion, because the moon is at least getting some support from all this beautiful Virgo energy. So if you find yourself stuck or in a rut or not feeling motivated or passionate about the work, about your health, about your fitness or finances, this is a time to lean on Uranus to see, where can I switch it up? Where can I change things? Remember that Virgo is a mutable energy. Mutable energy can adapt, it can shift, it can change. And so maybe there needs to be some reevaluation, some restructuring. Maybe it means connecting with other people or revisiting past relationships, if we're talking about Mercury retrograde in Libra, to help you, or for you to have more fun and more pleasure, if we're talking about the moon in Taurus, in these environments. Okay. And again, too, the moon is going to be making that trine to Pluto on Thursday. So like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, these are all phenomenal days this week. And please be sure to use them to your advantage, especially if there's anything that you wanted to accomplish with regards to these mercurial themes. So you need to have a conversation, or you want to approach a boss, or you want to fix something. Productivity and ease and harmony, those are all really amplified. The one thing on Thursday is just to note that square with Saturn, kind of Wednesday, Thursday, depending on your time zone. But again, I think that there might be a revelation of power or autonomy that's accomplished as we move to Friday. So Friday, for me, could go a couple different ways depending on your temperament. So Gemini is also a mutable energy. Moon-Mars conjunctions can go either way. It can be very great because Mars wants something to do. The moon can represent our body. And so with Gemini, it can mean a lot of conversations are happening. You might feel like a social butterfly. You might have events all over the city or all over where you're going. Some of you might be traveling, going here, there, and everywhere. Even my voice is just like, it would be a great day for networking, or if you need to put yourself in a position where you could have a whole bunch of conversations, and maybe you're not one for small talk, but this might be a situation where all you need to do is have a 5-minute conversation and get the exact piece of information or the okay or the yes that you've been waiting for. So that could be a nice energy. However, we also have the moon and Mars making a square to Venus. So this could also be like adding gasoline to the fire with regards to your mind. We also have the moon and Mars making a trine to Mercury retrograde, more so the moon than Mars, but still it's there. So I would very much be aware of your triggers, or where you may get distracted, or where you might be jealous or envious, or where you might be prone to overthinking, because all those things may happen on Friday. If you are one to create content, Friday would be a good day to release it because everyone's going to be talking. So give them something to talk about. Also going like an IG live, doing something to be seen, to share your voice. Phenomenal for Friday. And on a fun, playful note, with this energy and Mercury representing commerce, if there's some kind of sale or some kind of deal you want to renegotiate, maybe you bought something and now you're saying it's like 20% off, so you just want to take it back and then get it on the deal. That kind of energy is coming through. Or maybe if you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed, taking a personal day, going shopping, laughing with your friends. This would be a nice day to do so. I personally would not use Friday for confronting someone. I think that there's going to be a lot of emotions involved. There might be a lot of nitpicking. There might be a lot of feelings or judgments being passed. You might also find yourself on the receiving end of that, of someone being like, I really want to talk to you. Something's been weighing on me. And if you're in the correct headspace, of course you could do so, but I would probably hold off on having that conversation until Saturday. The moon is making a nice trine to Saturn. The moon is now further away from Venus, so it's more so in relation to the sun, which isn't necessarily bad, but it's still a little bit better. You might even just want to hold off until Monday in general, like just let the weekend simmer. What I'm basically saying is don't be impulsive with communication, period. And if you want to use your words, do so in a way that's going to aid you with regards to social activities, with regards to networking, with regards to social media and advertising. Those are all great ways to use it on Friday. And then on Saturday, you might have better structure or the right words to say. And also, too, the moon is making that square to Neptune. So just be careful, because we kind of have this T square energy happening where we have the moon opposing Neptune, and then the moon, or the sun, pardon me, is opposing Neptune. The moon is right in the middle. So Saturday is probably the most challenging day, energetically speaking. So just be aware of that. Yeah. I'm trying to even think of a nice productive way to use this, and it might just be boundaries. This is the one way in which the moon is kind of winning here. I would be very cautious of turning to substances or gossip or both. Be careful of your words. Be careful of going online or saying something over text that could then be later used. Be careful of delusion or other people trying to gas you up, or like gaslighting you, or trying to get a rouse out of you. This is a time where you might just want to say no. You might just be like, you know what? I don't need to go to that function. I don't need to go out. I just want to stay in. And some of you might just be feeling a lot in your head, in your crown, in your third eye, because there's just so much mutable energy going on. And with the sun opposing Neptune on its own, it can be delusion, power structures, victimhood, running away from responsibility. So I just want you to be careful on Saturday, because there's a lot going on, especially if you have prominent mutable energy. And when in doubt, if you're not feeling it, say no, or you don't even need to respond, period. But Saturday, just take it slow and pause before you say something that could be used against you or that you would regret later on, okay? Okay. Not to scare anyone, but it is a very intense day. Once we move to Sunday, a little bit better because the moon is in her home sign of Cancer. The one thing to note here, we have the moon square Mercury. So I would feel like this would be something that you might have to go back and recount or apologize for something, or if you hurt someone's feelings, especially if maybe you did not heed my warning on Saturday and Sunday, you're like, And I do want to reiterate one more time, that's going to be very easy to dip into substances or escapism tendencies on Saturday. So just be mindful. It could also be one of those things where it's like, I'll just go out for one drink and then 10 drinks in later, or being more open to things that would, like, your inhibitions being lowered. So that would make sense to me why on Sunday there would be a situation where you might need to go back, apologize, get the pieces, see what was going on. Another good way to do this for me is like internal rebalance. And so it's like, where do I need to be nurtured? Where are my relationships supporting me? Where are they not supporting me? Maybe you're feeling that certain relationships with family, friends, a lover, lovers, plural, you're just kind of really, what's that Egyptian calculator? What was it called? Word has escaped me. It starts with an A. I can feel people like screaming at me. It's like, it's this, like a acrobus or something. You might just be checking your balances, emotionally speaking, on Sunday, especially if maybe you're on the receiving end of a conversation or something happened over Friday, Saturday. You're like, I just want to take things a little bit more slowly. The moon now is also in this T square between Mercury and Jupiter. So there could just be more information that's coming to light as well. Maybe people's true colors have been revealed. And so it gives you an opportunity to decide how to best proceed. In general, in my opinion, Friday, Saturday, Sunday are just nice days to sit back and see where the chips fall. And now that you know what the astrology is, you can kind of see the energetic landmines and not be prone to them. And again, this might be all happening in the background, and you might just be receiving it, or people are coming to you for help. You do not need to answer. You do not need to extend yourself if you are not in the right place to do so. This would also be a great time to unplug, turn notifications off, turn your phone on airplane mode. If you just want to protect your own energy, and that is not selfish, that is not running away. It's just being mindful of what you need to ensure that your cup is full, that your cup is overflowing before you tend to other people. And you might not even be able to avoid it. I also just feel like from a collective standpoint, there might be something that shakes down over this weekend. Stay tuned. But yes, this would also just be a nice day too, where you're like, I need to do those adult things of laundry, groceries, setting myself up for success. Because next week, we're entering Libra season. So a lot of shifts are going to be happening. And this is like a nice day to clean things up, rebalance things. I wish I could remember the name for that calculator. It'll come to me after I finish recording this, but take things slow. Give some grace to yourself. The silver lining is with this Moon-Jupiter square, it could be a lot of emotions, but a lot of things that are prompting you that maybe, you know, when you're in a really stressful situation, or sometimes you were not going to make that change unless this intense catalyst happens. I kind of feel like that is going to be taking place, or that has the potential to take place on some sort of level where it's like, had I not experienced this or had this conversation, it wouldn't have given me the courage to wholeheartedly go in this direction. So be open to that and see how that manifests for you over this weekend. Okay. Now, the astro question of the week. So this comes from H. Hombre. Do you think you could elaborate one day on Chiron moon conjunctions? My natally is conjunct in my first house. My rising is in Leo as well. I've so far read rather gloomy takes on that. Thanks in advance. So I'm not just going to focus on Moon Chiron conjunctions. I'll talk about squares and oppositions as well. That way we're talking about frictional or potentially frictional aspects with Chiron and the moon. So if you remember, on Monday of this week, the moon in Aries is conjunct Chiron for everyone. And that's where I was talking about where is their fear of action or claiming your own independence or autonomy. And so with Chiron, it's interesting that it's the only asteroid that comes up in generated astrological natal charts because it's the wounded masculine. And back in the day, it was a lot of, you guessed it, straight white male astrologers that were in the forefront of astrology. And so there are hundreds of thousands of asteroids. There are many asteroids. And there's only one that is commonly placed in our chart. And so it's interesting, I'll say that Chiron gets a lot of attention when, for example, for those of you who might be more advanced in your astrology knowledge, that we have Ceres, Pallas Athene, Juno, and Vesta, goddess asteroids that don't get nearly as much attention. So if you are curious about asteroids, I'll probably go into that. I'm sure I've mentioned a week ahead breakdown, but look up those asteroids. I'll put them in the description of this bio, like the 4 goddesses that are, I mean, there's many Greek goddesses, muses, things that we can look at for asteroids. So that's my little, it's not that I don't like Chiron, it's just that there are so many other asteroids. And it's interesting that the masculine again is getting in the forefront. But I understand that when it's in our own chart and it's affecting us, that we can see it as maybe a sore spot or can give us some unease. I could do a whole episode just on the Chiron alone. Okay, so if we're talking about Moon, Chiron, frictional aspects, so conjunctions, squares, oppositions. First of all, with regards to asteroids, we give them a very narrow orb, only 3 degrees. So with this conjunction, let's say the moon in your chart is at 5 degrees and Chiron is in aspect at 10 degrees. Sure, that's a 5-degree orb, but in terms of it being significant, not so much. Now, I assume with the question that was submitted, that is probably in that 1-2 degree orb, or maybe it's in the same degree, which is valid. So if we're talking about the moon, remember that the moon can represent our emotions, subconscious energy, our health, our body, and the relationship with the mother as general signifiers. So if we're talking about Leo energy in this question, that can be spotlight energy, that can be talent, that can be beauty, that can be your voice, all of these things. But in general, I want you to look at themes around the moon. And then Chiron, talking about a wounded energy, you're not feeling confident in those areas, or potentially a mother or maternal or feminine energy causing you to feel insecure about your body, about your health. Or it could be a genetic energy that has been passed down. Maybe genetically speaking, all the women in your family have had diabetes or any type of illness or disease. And so you feeling like, well, I am predisposed to this. I've now claimed an identity that may or may not come true based on your circumstance, based on your diet and nutrition, or maybe, for example, all the women in your family are more prone to a certain type of mental illness, so they've all come from a scarcity mindset, or maybe they're all immigrants or have that immigrant mentality that got passed around that we have to save, or that we can't go above our means. It can manifest in a couple of different ways, of course. So how I would discern this, number one, where do you feel like your moon is being inhibited? Do you feel like it's from an emotional standpoint? Do you feel like it's from a health standpoint? Do you feel like it's from a maternal or feminine standpoint? Getting clear on that. It might be all the above. It might just be one. Second of all, where in your chart is this specifically? In the question that was submitted, it was in their first house because they also said they were Leo rising. So that would be overall your identity if it was in the first house, for example. And now for the silver lining and how we can transmute this, when we have any challenging or frictional aspect in our chart, it can seem daunting or cause us stress when we read things online or we hear one thing from maybe an astrologer, maybe an astrology enthusiast, and then that plants a belief in our mind of this is going to be hard forever, or now I'm not going to be able to receive this, or this is going to be harder to do that. If you have watched my channel for a long time, you know I always practice discernment when we hear certain things, even coming from myself, that we do not take it in as fact if it does not resonate with us. A lot of people have a lot of opinions about many different astrological things. It's our job, in my opinion, in our spiritual practice with anything in life, to dig a little deeper, to ask more questions, get a second opinion, see what feels right for ourselves. And so whether it's an aspect to Chiron, Saturn, Pluto, outside of the astrological realm, if what you read does not resonate with you, you're like, I don't think that's applicable. I don't think that this tarot reader that I'm watching on social media is speaking to me. I feel like maybe they're on a different frequency. That isn't good. That isn't bad. It just is. Put the phone down and maybe say, that's an interesting take. I'm going to take certain things that resonate, leave what does not. For example, going back to a Moon Chiron aspect, that could be frictional, conjunction, square, opposition, or any frictional aspect in your chart. Let's say a debilitated planet or a square or opposition between any of the planets or angles in your chart. It gives you an opportunity to go inward and become a master of that energy, for you to spend even more time knowing how to remedy it, knowing how to have such sharp, concise tools that you know how to dissect it in a way that you would then be helping other people to understand the themes of that aspect in your chart. So instead of looking at it as a potential hindrance, you are transmuting it to then not only help yourself understand it better, but you are then going to help so many other people come into power in that way. So I'll give one personal quick example. My Mercury is in Sagittarius in the 12th house. So Mercury is said to be in its detriment in the sign of Sagittarius. And generally speaking, when planets are in the 12th house, that can be a little tricky. Knowing that, one may seem like, oh, that may be prone to mental illness or being distracted or being procrastination tendencies. Be careful of that. Sure, that may have happened earlier. However, we want to look at the aspects. So Mercury makes a square, mutually receptive to Jupiter and Virgo in my chart. And instead of allowing themes of loneliness or depression, which can sometimes be a manifestation of Mercury in the 12th, especially a debilitated Mercury, I've been able to use time that I spend by myself to enhance my knowledge, especially of spiritual themes. I live my best life when I can be by myself and just learning about astrology, for example, and then I can use that knowledge to help others. So instead of looking at it as a hindrance in my chart or a weakened planet, there's so much I can use on the flip side of it. So that's what I'm talking about with a Moon Chiron, let's say conjunction. Sure, it may have caused pain in the past or currently, but how is it in a way that for this specific question, a Moon Chiron in Leo in the first, maybe you have gone through images around your body or around your power or around your own voice. How can you then inspire others to honor themselves, to honor their body, their beauty, their self-worth, their autonomy? That might be part of your purpose. And I've said this before too, that your natal chart is like an energetic snapshot of what your soul is here to achieve. So nothing is good, nothing is bad per se. It's just what your soul wants to achieve. And this is kind of like an energetic map of how it's going to get there, or certain strengths or lessons it wanted to learn to get to that path. So all of that is to say, one, with any aspects with asteroids, for it to be significant, look for a 3-degree orb. If it's past 3 degrees, it won't affect you. And that can also be annoying when there's like a Greek muse asteroid or like Goldfinger or Zeus or Hecate, or you're like, I really want that asteroid to be in close aspect to my sun or my ascendant. It's like 5 degrees away. You're like, ah. I've had that before where it's like, can it not just be a 3-degree orb? So it can work either way, where it's like, be mindful of orbs and ranges with asteroids, in which Chiron is an asteroid. Second of all, when we're looking at Chiron, being aware that it can manifest in many different ways. And with the moon, emotions, body, feminine energy as 3 things to look at. And then third of all, are we allowing it to be something that has been ingrained into our identity because of something we read or something that we experienced in the past? Or can we transmute that energy to allow ourselves to grow and expand? Some things to ponder. Okay. So I know I went on a little bit of a tangent there. Like I said, I have my own interesting thoughts about Chiron and how we don't give more attention to the goddess asteroids, which are just as common. It can be quite revealing. So I'll list those goddess asteroids there. And I might even just do a separate video added to the list of videos. If you are all interested in learning about those 4 goddess asteroids, let me know. And I'll probably just do a separate video on that. And of course, now I'm doing the Moon Day IG live chats on Mondays. So to accommodate all time zones, I'll be picking different times each Monday so that no matter where you are in the world, you'll be able to tune in some way, shape, or form. We'll just be discussing all of these themes in depth. Sometimes when I record this, I have different things that come to me and I was like, okay, I can mention this in the live or I can mention this in other content. So I might just talk about the goddess asteroids in that IG live. So that is something that you're curious about. Stay tuned for the live. I'll do my best to make a video about those goddess asteroids and the lessons about that. But even just as one final note, I'll list the 4 goddess asteroids that I mentioned before, but even learning more about their story as well. You can literally just type into YouTube like Vesta astrology or Vesta myth explained, so that you can learn more about these deities, these goddesses, and that can help to understand that if you do have, let's say, Vesta in aspect to Venus or your moon or your ascendant, it can help you understand why you might feel the themes of Vesta or Juno or Pallas Athene or Ceres in such a more pronounced way. But that'll be for another time. I'm sure this video is already like 30 or 40 minutes. So thank you all for watching. Thank you for diving into the astrology with me yet again. If you would like a resource to further delve into those Pisces full moon themes, we're still in that full moon phase on this Monday. So I'll put the link in the video below. Any general questions, please let me know in the comments. If there's any questions or clarity you want from what we talked about today, of course, let me know. If I see them in time, I'll talk about them in the live, or I'll try and get back to the comments accordingly. Have a phenomenal week, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.